reminder, right?
Live the adventure.
Well, you guys have been listening to the Get Canceled podcast. We do this weekly, and we stream on all major platforms, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. As well, we try to put the link on YouTube as well, so you can catch us there if you want to see what we look like. Sometimes people do. Clearly, we're getting marriage proposals, and lots of weird stuff gets said to us in these messages.
I think she wants to marry your jeans. That's what it is.
Who doesn't, dude?
This is forwarded to me.
She wants to marry what's under these dadgum jeans. But
not the weird.
The weird place isn't that bad. It's historic.
It's terrible.
Thelma's Peach. They've been hosting bands for 100
Where's
years.
that at?
It looks like somebody was sad on the inside.
The lady's got
all over the walls.
The lady's like 90 years old. She's got like old titty
Where's it
art.
at?
It's Admiral and your mom. It's way down by 244.
That's a good Admiral. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought you said Adderall in your mom. And I was like, well, those two things should,
I heard Admiral in your mom.
Yeah.
Should mix because my mom has it.
She's got weird old like titty art kind of in there, but she's 90. If you met her, I don't know how they're still open.
There's a really good band.
They got like 4 bottles of alcohol.
I thought
in
he
there.
was talking about the Vanguard, and I was like, the Vanguard is cool. Like, it's a cool place.
There's a buddy of ours that was playing with
The
a really
Merc,
good band.
super cool. Like,
and so Bryan invited us over there, and I walked in. I was like, why are we here?
Where?
Then somebody's like, it's not that bad, and what he's talking about's on this wall, and I'm like, look at that wall.
yeah, go
And
ahead.
it's over there, like, oh,
and peek at the
I was
other
like, that's
wall.
not just art. That's just people that don't like their insides.
It's just weird stuff, you know, like
Exactly. That you just don't look at.
they're dumb.
Like old bikers.
But if you knew the old lady, who I don't know, I just met her like twice. She reminds me of like one of the ladies on. Remember that show with the old ladies? What was it called?
Golden Girls.
Golden Girls. The old little lady.
Okay, so if
she
any
would
Golden
remind you
Girls
of.
lady owns a biker bar, I have to go see it because
Yeah,
that just
yeah,
sounds
like
like
an
a
impersonal
it's a
boss.
crazy concept.
It's an
You know,
experience.
That's a late life crisis.
Back in the day, it used to be different.
Almost dead
Now,
crisis.
due to location, how people are, the music that comes in there that wasn't Easy's band, it's a different place now. But historically, it's like the Colony.
Okay.
Some legit people, because there's a lot of music in Tulsa. People don't understand it. I've learned through Easy.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of music comes through
I
here.
didn't know that. Yeah.
And the Colony in Thelma's is a place that these people would come to, these little hole in the walls, and play no different than Mercury the other night. You have I only know this stuff going with Easy, but a solid band. And you were there that night, Kellen, where Isaac decided he'd sing a couple songs.
Isaac
Hansen.
Hansen. Yeah, I saw him the other weekend at a
Well,
concert.
And just random.
I was like, what are you doing?
He's an incredible artist. Like, it was some of his own music. But before him, random, like, 20-year-old girl that her brother plays up there, too, gets on stage and starts singing, and everybody quits talking. Like, Bryan and I stopped talking to each other. It was so good. And so it was fun. But no, the whole conversation with that is I thought Bryan texted earlier is like, hey, to my wife and I, you guys want to come to Maggie's? And I thought that was this Thelma's place. And so
the weird place.
I was asking specifics, and it was funny. And he's like, no, that's the other place on the north side of town. So what were you want to say about Maggie's?
Well, tonight, you guys, we talk about Easy a lot.
Are we
He used to play on an old band.
sick? Yeah. Just making sure.
We are.
We love Easy.
Old band he used to play in. Guys are coming into town, and they're kind of getting the guys back together again. So it'll be like, I think it'll be like kind of like a cover thing, to where they'll do some old stuff, some recognizable stuff, kind of relaxed crew, old, guys that are our age, a little bit older. We're not your age, Thad, but just fun. Maggie's is pretty like,
Just made me feel really old. Just
Oh,
Well, he's like
I'm
21.
33. I'm 33, and they think that I'm like 12 all the time.
well, I'm 45, so, but it'll be cool. Maggie's is a pretty relaxed spot in Jinx on Main Street.
Maggie's is cool.
It's real
Maggie's
cool.
a cool
I mean,
spot.
it's a
Yeah.
hometown place. The owners have done pretty good with that spot to keep it, what people want it to be. It's not going to be, fights and nonsense unless clearly we're the ones getting in a fight. We'd be the ones to fight before anyone else would. Drinks are good there. I would say what they've added in the last year that actually made them a decent place for entertainment for people that live in Jinx or the surrounding area, because there's not a lot to do in South Tulsa music related, is they've added like a food menu that's really pretty good. They've got an outdoor spot. It's going to be I'm going to say it's going to be mostly professionals at Maggie's. It's going to be married couples, people on dates. You know,
Good spot for sure though.
single people, probably 35 and up. It's not like a young hipster place or anything like that. Not that that's bad or anything, but that's just not going to be the crowd. The crowd that come to Maggie's wants to hear some of these bands that come through that have been in Tulsa forever. They've been pretty good about getting those bands in. So if you guys want to go support Easy, he'll be playing tonight. He'll have a lot of individual show-off sessions. They like to give Easy the mic a little bit, and Easy can play the piano for sure when he's kind of just doing a thing for everybody to see. So you should check it out. It's about 8 o'clock. So Thad will probably be about in bed for 10 minutes by then. And but everyone else who's awesome.
Bedroom, trying to put them to sleep.
Everyone else
natural
who's
melatonin.
awesome.
At that age, you start putting your kids to bed. You're like, why do I keep getting tired?
Dude, we got
Especially if you read him a story.
yeah,
Puts you to sleep
Puts you to
faster
sleep.
than- yeah.
Well, I got one that makes me tell him a story. For I got to make a new one up every night.
awesome.
Got to tell him a new one every night. I'm like, oh gosh. So I got to get in my creative flow there. But yeah, you got the sound machine. You're just sitting there. One's in that full size bed, so I can lay with him, and the other one's just laying there in the chair with me, and I'm like, yeah, I've been up here for 45 minutes, and I definitely just woke up for I don't know when I fell asleep and when I got it. Whatever, but that's kids, man. It's fun. So.
Well, we're glad to have you awake with us, Thad.
Yeah,
Say
we're
that.
always awake.
So I'm excited about today. We've said it, I think, twice on the podcast. Bryan and I were sitting having cigars. We have 3 or 4 guys with us, and conversations always got real.
I don't say that publicly. I tell people I don't smoke.
Yeah.
You lie.
Is that,
You
since,
lie.
is that since yesterday?
You lie.
No, I had 2 yesterday.
I was telling people that. I was like,
Since this morning.
This is a new, or did something happen?
Oh, I'm lying straight to their faces. I mean, they can probably smell it on me as I'm lying straight to their faces.
through the camera.
Literally last night, Amy goes, "Have you been smoking a cigar?" I was like, "Yeah, I have." And it was actually fine because she goes, "Oh, well, I like it." I'm like, "Okay, well, here we are. You're the one." You know, that's kind of a joke, by the way. But anytime you have someone that's acceptable of your cigar activities and habits,
You're the
pay
one.
attention to that because not everybody is. Well, we went to the summit last night and made the kids go. Not to interrupt, I want to get there real quick, but I hate not to say it because you'll like this, Kellen, and I think you're really good about doing stuff like this with your kids. And you too, Thad, by the way. You're really good about creating situations. But Easy and them were playing last night up there, and it was a good night to have dinner with Maverick and Legend, but they had to dress up. So I was like, you guys go to pants and polos.
It's like on the little 32
Yep,
floor, right?
you're going to meet me there. Easy will be there already. And so what was cool, though, is, getting there and hearing compliments about them when you come in. Easy said they walk in dressed the same. They both only have black pants and black polos they never wear unless they have to. So they look like twins, except for one's white. And but then you hear, Amy did the same. Her girls came up. Some other people that we know came up. But we kind of created a thing to where they could come up and have dinner or whatever and everyone play and hang out because it's a family-safe floor. And so kind of our friend group went up there and everyone brought their kids or whatever. But, hearing compliments, like Maverick's holding the door for people and they're doing things like that, I thought was really cool. It shows that they kind of listen and watch, Watch more than listen, by the way. Because it's not often that you're in the moment telling kids to do certain things a lot of the time because you're already doing something. Mm-hmm. So it's just moving so fast. So I don't have a lot of history of stopping and going, hey, do this, that, and the other. But what there is history of is them watching us constantly. What we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, And so I thought that was cool because it's just a proof that, that watch example is maybe bigger than word example.
What you do is, and there's been studies on this, is has a lot more impact on your kids than what you say. I mean, it should both probably be in line, but it has
Right.
a lot more impact on your kids what you do.
But it makes more sense, if you're doing it, because, you're going to do it a lot more times than you're going to say it, right? It's not like every time you hold the door for someone, you're going to go hold the door for her. You're going to hold the door for someone 25 times, but you might instruct them a time or two, hey, don't forget to hold the door. So they're going to see your example probably a lot more times than they hear what you want them to be the example.
Well, if you're the one doing it too. I remember being a kid. That was yesterday for you, according to Bryan.
If that, dude.
I don't know.
That was like this morning.
I feel like we're not making fun of Brian's jeans. We have to make fun of your age for some reason. But I remember, like, my dad did so many things well. I learned so much from him. But you know what, it, like, sears in my mind is the things that he's like, don't do what I do what I say. Like, there was a couple things, Diet Coke and things. He's like, you can't have this. But he had it, and you'd ask, what, like, why? And his answer was, don't do what I do what I say. And for a kid, that actually has a huge impact. A point in case, I'm 40. And I can remember the two things that my dad would do that I wasn't supposed to do, right? So
Did that make you want to do it more?
Oh, 100%.
Do you drink Diet Coke?
Yeah, all the time.
No, you
Not about being
don't.
bad, it's
Yeah, I do.
about
You should
being
only
bad.
drink. You only drink energy drinks.
No, I don't only drink energy.
Also, we have to get that soundbite in of you saying that you didn't even like that energy drink so much that you'd rather have zero energy.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad asked about an energy drink, and it was basically so bad that I'd rather be tired.
He was like, he just sent a picture and he goes, "This was terrible." And I was like, "That sucks."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'd
Hey.
rather have zero energy than drink
Didn't
that."
drink any of it. No, I drink Diet Coke or water.
Hey, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do to make sure those cases keep coming.
Nope.
Can you all see it, Celsius? Because you're going to get tagged in it, you weirdos. Don't send a variety pack, because I'm going to throw out every one of them but orange.
I haven't
But
said Orange Celsius sucks in a long time. It sucks. It's
this
not
is so
hey,
good.
The thing the other day, Thad, was so bad that I drink an Orange Celsius. And I'd rather have water for a month with nothing else than drink
Rare,
Orange Celsius.
rare. We're in rare
Are you guys
air,
actually
y'all.
trying to promote these guys or demote them? I'm just trying
Brian
to
just gets
I
bored and
promote
he
'em.
tags
You
them.
promote them and you attack them.
Yeah, I attack him.
I
Which
get
promotes
free.
him?
That works better.
I don't know. About
He gets free
I don't know, about a
Celsius.
year and a half ago, I started getting free Celsius, and I was like, what in the world is going on? And I'd missed an email about it, but yeah, they come. They'll drop a few cases at a time, sometimes one, sometimes four. But about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I don't know what, as I started just making joke posts about Orange Celsius. But it all started with freaking Casey's. Sucks, by the way. They suck for more reasons than their Celsius, lack of Celsius inventory. You guys ever try to pay at a Casey's?
Yeah,
You're going to
four
be there
questions.
freaking forever. Their machine sucks, and they act like they don't know it sucks, and they think it's normal. And I'm like, dude, if I was anywhere else, I would already be halfway down the road. Oh, you put your card back in. Oh, you got to push it in a little bit more. I'm like, are we still talking about the card,
Are you-
bro?
Are you talking about that Casey's that's
So-
over by your house?
Have you tried the same with double wood whiskey and cigars? See if they start sending cases.
Kellen, tell your friend we don't drink
Oh,
whiskey
so sorry.
and smoke cigars. Lord, we are live right now,
Is this
guys.
a Christian podcast?
Guys,
Oh.
everyone
We can't talk
slightly-
about whiskey
No, he
and
talks about it every week. He's
Only
just being weird right
slightly.
now.
next we're going to be talking about fighting in bars at 1:30 in the morning 2
God,
weeks
that's
ago.
awful. But
That
I'm
would
just trying
never
to see
happen.
if they do start sending some double wood whiskey. I want to get it.
Fighting
Not
is
these
bargain.
guys. I'm just saying.
We've got
Scotch.
Not
I
me
mean,
and you
double wood.
at Shot Happens. You weren't even there. Have you still not heard this?
I don't know that I want to.
Well, it didn't happen. That's why you're not going to hear about it. It didn't happen. This, my friend, does go, I hear,
Yeah,
with, I've never done this.
with
Vodka? I
vodka.
think?
I've never had vodka.
I wouldn't do it.
but
But I know someone who has
but in
practiced
Bulgaria,
that.
we don't drink vodka. We drink
Well, and we don't drink alcohol at all on this
he's
podcast.
not-
We don't
he's
promote
not
it.
Russian.
But if we were to,
not Russian.
the problem with that is,
Yeah.
since you do have some drinks, you mix a drink up, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you were using these, Lord, dude, you might have 4 or 5 in one
Up or
night
in
and
the
just
down or
die.
oh.
So if you're using Sprite, you can have 20 of them. You're just going to get a lot of sugar or whatever. But if you were mixing drinks with this, you're going to die.
Heart just
He's
exploded
really
at 2
working
a.m.
on those cases of.
He is.
Let's. What vodka would you have with that if you were? Let's.
If.
They send something.
If.
I'm
Right.
just trying to help.
If
out.
they send something,
Tito's, I hear, is
know.
good because
For
it's-
science.
Tito's
I
is
mean,
gluten
since you're-
free.
Yeah.
gluten free.
Sorry.
What do
If
we
you're
got?
going to drink a lot of vodka,
You don't want
You may
Grey
as well get
Goose
less
or-
in-
Now that I know vodka brands.
Grey Goose is so good.
If you're going to say gluten free out loud, you should go back to the old pants.
Dude, less inflammation is a thing. If you're going to, again, people who drink vodka, I don't clearly drink any alcohol. But if I was going to drink
Clearly.
vodka,
You would go with.
I'm going to have
Tito's.
like 8. And so if you have 8, you got to watch.
Brian
the
learned it
intake.
all off the internet.
But otherwise, Grey Goose as well.
Dude, I
Tito's.
love Grey Goose.
But-
The Grey Goose.
but
So you don't
also-
drink Citron?
Yeah.
But also, if we were going to
no,
drink
no.
that Gallagher's Steakhouse and the espresso martini, Gallagher's Steakhouse in Vegas,
There's another. What's the other
We're gonna
vodka? One word.
Stollies.
No,
Mm-hmm.
it's a higher level brand. I'm going to figure it out right now, and I'll tell you guys a story about a night.
You definitely shouldn't have any or 8. Hey, so back to the cigar pit.
Oh, yeah.
Since this went 87 different directions, Kally and I had a cigar.
Yeah.
Doug
wait,
and
we don't smoke. But if we were,
Bryan
having
doesn't
sex-
smoke.
okay.
That's his fault. Brian would hang out with a girl that smokes while he doesn't smoke.
I see.
That's the problem.
Got it.
That's why he wears girl pants half the time. So they're not today. These are the style ones. You missed out on it. They're usually like right here.
Oh. The crazy
Sometimes
part
I
is
wear
that the
tight
90s
pants.
is coming back to me, the clothing style.
Yeah.
And if you've
It all
lived through
cycles.
mullets and achy breaky heart once, you never ever want to see
Never
it again.
want to see it again.
Never want to see it again.
Brian's trying to make it cool again.
No fear shirts.
So we got into something not surface level.
Yeah.
Right? And a place that I know, and Brian, we've talked a lot about this, men get to. When things, let's say you're in a valley, things fall apart, don't go the way that you want them to. But we specifically talked about relationships and what that can pull out of you. And so, Kally, I just wanted to, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself. But really, the meat and potatoes of this is God got us together. He's working in an incredible way in your life, but there's just been a season where you learned a lot. And so I wanted to give you just some space to kind of to tee back up our conversation. We can get rolling from there.
Well, I was born at an early age near my mother in the hospital.
Near her. Near her.
Then last week,
Yeah. So I grew up in Bulgaria. I moved here to go to ORU. Started the church when I was 15. I was convinced I'm going to be preaching and doing that sort of thing for the rest of my life. And I grew up in a charismatic Pentecostal type vibe. Pentecostals definitely don't drink, so it was a good Pentecostal. I don't either. But were you a Pentecostal? Yes. Okay.
No rings, long hair.
Yep. Yeah, the whole thing. So, got married. My marriage was always tumultuous. It was never a good marriage. And I felt like I should not do ministry because how my marriage was going, because, Timothy specifically talks about having a good house, and I felt like it's not that I was doing anything bad. It's not that my ex-wife was doing anything bad, but it was tumultuous. There was fighting. There was stuff that kids just shouldn't see their parents fight, and that was one of my biggest regrets in my marriage. But long story short, we were married for almost 28 years, and then she asked me to move out December 2019, right when COVID was kind of launching. So I wasn't able to move out until May 2020. I've grown up, in Bulgaria. From there, I'm going to ORU in the dorm, getting married, having 5 kids, and my oldest son works for you, by the way. So I've never had a moment of noise-free second in my life. I'm just surrounded by conversation, noise, joy, fun. And that first weekend, waking up in an apartment by yourself,
which is quiet,
the silence was deafening. And I kept having the feeling that somebody is by me and watching me the entire time. Whatever I was doing, I just couldn't shake the feeling. But you were alone the entire time. And learning to cook for one person when you're used to cooking for 7, and just everything is just heartbreaking. And I didn't know, we're getting back together, we separating, and I was asking, are we heading back together, are we separating, what are we doing? It's kind of a long version of the story. But she said, let's move on, let's, end this. And I've been alone for about a year and a half. This is 2021. Our anniversary was Valentine's, went out for anniversary. I invited her over every night. The following night, she said, nope, I don't want to do anything. We went out for our daughter's graduation. On the way back, there was some FUs exchange in 2 separate cars. Nope, I'm filing for divorce, we're done. All right, I'm going to start dating. If you decide you want to get back together, I'm going to try it. I dated the last 3 or 4 years. I was mostly with the same partner. And then I broke up with her 4 times. Just off and on. Break up with her, and just as soon as I turned 50, my birthday is in October, we break up. November 2nd, I was about to go through surgery. I'm like, it would be unfair for you to be with me and help me through surgery, which just break up now, so I could do my surgery. Well, we own a business together, but my ex-girlfriend, and so we have to go back to Bulgaria. It's It's a dog kennel business, so I have to do that. But after we broke up, about a month and a half later, some stuff happened, and I started dating again. I go out on a date with a different girl, and we met because we like books. Kind of giving you a big story here, but so I give her my favorite book. She gives me her favorite book, and I said, I'm not going to read your book. She's like, why not? Normally, if you're trying to impress somebody, you're going to do what
they want you to
do. What you want to do, and so I was supposed to read the book, and the book was about love. And I'm like, I can't read the book about love. That was sort of my first realization that something seriously wrong with me. And then my mom is visiting from Bulgaria. They're watching some baking show, and we're sitting on the couch right at Christmas. My daughter, my mom. I opened the book, and in the very first few pages of the book, it's an old couple that's bickering. They've been married 80 years, and that bickering of an old couple is them expressing love because they're fighting about stupid stuff like, you didn't do the soap. It's a classic love book. And I just started bawling. And I cry for like hours. Just like, it's because my mom and my daughter sitting by me rubbed off on me. I picked up some estrogen. I'm drinking my red wine here with them, and I'm sobbing my ass. And I text this girl, and I'm like, why did you give me this book about love? I can't do love. So a month later, I'm in Bulgaria with my ex-girlfriend. We had decided we were not going to spend any time alone. We were going to talk. We're just going there for business, and then we'll leave, and then we'll do the business part and be away from each other. Well, her luggage gets lost, so we get stuck in a car for 48 hours driving places, and we like signed the document. We're not talking about our relationship at all because we want to keep our business alive. Of course, we end up talking about our relationship for a while. So she said, in the last 4 years I was with you, you never said you love me. Like, I just couldn't do it. Just wasn't ready. I could not say. And then, slowly stuff kind of starts coming around in my head, and then she's like, well, you did all this stuff, and at this point I'm sobbing. I'm like, I'm really sorry, I was just not in a good place, I apologize. And I said, I actually remembered the first time I chose to not tell I love you to my ex-wife. I've been sitting at home working, about to go to my office. She came over and picked a fight with me that just broke my heart, made me cry. And I'm walking out the door, and I was like, goodbye. I'm like, she's not going to get that from me. I'm not going to say I love you. This person doesn't deserve for me to say I love you. That was maybe 4 years before I moved out, 4 or 5. So it was the first time I decided to withhold I love you from saying it because I was hurt. I'm like, I'm not going to keep letting you hurt me and keep putting my heart out there and you keep breaking it. Because I love you didn't just mean I love you, it meant I forgive you. Every time before I got off the phone, I would say I love you. At night, even if I had a rough day or fighting, I would say I love you. And I'm like, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to feel pain. That realization kind of comes Friday. My ex-girlfriend goes to get her luggage that was lost back to the capital. I'm driving around doing errands, and I'm sitting in the car, and it all kind of hits me. I can't say I love you. I stopped saying I love you to my ex-wife. I can't read a book about love. I also realized I was always the girl in my relationship. Previously, I love romantic comedies. I'm very romantic. I flowers, notes, gifts. I love all of that. I love expressing love and showing affection. And I couldn't do it for 4 years. And I just say, Lord, I've been praying for a while, heal my heart. But all of it hits, and I can only describe it as a second born-again experience. I started sobbing for 30 minutes of crying. I cannot describe it in any way except feeling born again. The realization comes that I couldn't feel love. God is love, by the way. So if you
100%.
cannot feel love, you cannot feel God. I couldn't feel forgiveness. I couldn't tell God I love him. I couldn't go to church. I couldn't listen to praise and worship without it making me angry. Praise and worship music made me angry. I couldn't truly go to church. I couldn't express emotion. The world just becomes gray. You just feel dark and depressed and bitter and angry, and you don't feel pain, but you also don't feel joy. You just feel hard and cold and numb.
Yeah, you get numb.
And then I remember having a fight with my ex-girlfriend and looking in the mirror, being like, I should feel more. Like, I'm upset, I could see tears, but I am not feeling anything right now. I should be feeling should be feeling more. Like I just kind of felt sadness and being down and dark, but I couldn't feel enough. So that night, I laid in bed and I just said, I love you. I said, I love you, God, and I could just feel love. I mean, I know it sounds weird and frou-frou because, I grew up Pentecostal and it's not, it's just Pentecostalism. I felt connected back to the engine that powers who I am. I was riding on fumes for 8 years, and every part of my life was suffering, but it becomes normal for you. It just becomes the new normal. That numbness becomes normal where you cannot feel stuff. And, since this moment in time, first I'm like, oh my God, I love my ex-girlfriend. This is crazy. I couldn't say I love her. She's like, we're done. You broke my heart 5 times. I'm moving on. So I had to deal with that. I had to deal with years of pain from my marriage ending that I just was stuffing in so I not to feel it. So I've cried more in the last 6 months than I've cried in years. I mean, the thing is, when God touches you and changes you and gives you a new heart, all of the habits and all the stuff you've done to numb yourself and to substitute God and joy and peace, they don't go away. So you have to kind of go through this desert experience again. I mean, you look at Jesus being tempted. After 40 days, he becomes hungry. And then he quotes a verse, and the verse is mentioned, I live by bread alone. If you read the actual verse, Moses tells it to the children of Israel, and it says, God took you to the desert to make you hungry and humble you and give you manna to teach you dimension. And the manna was daily. You had to get it daily. So basically, you have to go through this experience. Once God touches you, you have to go through this desert experience when you got to get rid of these things because you're hungry enough. The devil came to Jesus, attacked his identity, and said, make this, if you are the Son of God.
Yeah.
If you are, make. And when you're hungry enough, you want to eat rocks. You want to substitute the stuff, the broken heart, with this stuff.
But I think there's so much there. We talked for a couple hours. It was a long talk. Yeah. Well, and just where God's got you now is incredible, and I want to get to that. But there's so much there unknowingly for men. Mm-hmm. Because, we need to protect the room. Mm-hmm. We need to pursue the right things, all the things, right? Mm-hmm. Provide, and it can feel exhausting. But I know so many men in that real wound from a relationship, and it doesn't have to be a woman. It can be being hurt by mom, dad. Yeah, it can be betrayed by
business partner.
Well, I've sat with a guy that was betrayed by his business partner recently, and it's a guy they did life with forever, and the business partner chased money and stabbed him in the back, right? And you do the thing unknowingly that you think protects you. Mm-hmm. You cut that off and say, I won't feel this, I won't say that, and you don't know what it actually does to you. Holding on to it. And we were talking about the valley and drift a little bit last week, but when you talk about drifting away and numbing, there's a long-term cost to it. You lose yourself, and that's what you and I talked about. You actually, those 8 years, you actually lost who you were.
Right. Your identity changes, and you can't express creativity. I own a couple of businesses, and you got to be creative in those businesses. I was operating below par, 30%, 50%, I don't know. But you just take that and multiply it daily and figure out there's financial loss, there's relational loss, there's all kinds of stuff you're losing just because you are unplugged from that engine that empowers you and makes you you. Like I've written a children's book since then. It just came out of me. I started preaching again. I started working out again after not being able to work out. Everything that motivates you comes out of here. The Bible says that whatever you do, guard your heart. That's where the rivers of life comes from. That's the source that God connects in all of us. Whether you're a believer or not, that's what God uses. I was just at a lunch with a guy and I was telling him I was recording this podcast, and I've been telling all of my business meetings, and it was a business meeting, and he was like, well, you don't know this, but I'm dealing with the same thing in my marriage. I'm just numb. I cannot tell you how many guys I've talked to. And I've finally gotten to the point that I'm not crying, telling all the stories, which is good, since we're in video and I ugly cry when I do cry.
It's real tears.
Yeah, it's been a lot of it lately. Guys just get there, and they don't feel like they can open up to anyone because they feel like they have to be the strong one in a relationship or the strong one in a business and they just suffer, and then eventually they just stop feeling, and they might as well be dead. Because the glory of God is a man fully alive. He wants us to be alive.
Well, when we're fully alive, you and I talked about this. God loves multiplication, and God celebrates good relationships, right? But so often, like when you're numb, and this is what I appreciate about the conversation. We had a hard conversation about the girlfriend, right? And not her particularly, just having a girlfriend when you're still wounded.
Right.
What for you drove you to have a relationship, even when you've gone through something so hard?
Well, I mean, obviously, you get over the first relationship by having the second one. That's kind of obvious. It helps you forget. It helps you process. And she was there for me like the darkest moments. There's no question about that. Should I have had a girlfriend at that point? Absolutely not. Now, it could have also saved my life because I got to the point that I was.
You were contemplating life and death.
But I was contemplating, and it wasn't even contemplating if I was doing it. I was contemplating how I would do it, and that's what scared me. So I'm like, I'm going to go to therapy, and I've done all of those things. But the thing is, like the last 4 or 5 months, but the natural temptation for me is I immediately want to jump into a relationship again because I'm not just grieving the loss of the last 4-year relationship with my girlfriend. I'm grieving stuff for the loss of my marriage because I couldn't feel it. I called my ex-wife, and I'm like, our relationship was terrible, but I shouldn't have had my heart closed to you. My heart should have been open still, and my heart was closed, and I apologize for that. Nobody deserves coldness. But the last 5 months, I had to sit alone in my own misery for a while, because you got to get healed up enough, otherwise the 10% you're missing in the relationship becomes your 100%, and otherwise the rock starts looking like bread, and instead of trying to settle a new identity so God can connect you with something, you want to replace that. I mean, that becomes another replacement, right? That becomes another numbing mechanism.
Well, I don't want to get too deep into Scripture, but that's what we see play out. Like God has a people, and He frees His people. So when you look at the book of Exodus, that's God's freeing His people.
Right.
And they're supposed to be in a desert for a very short amount of time, and they end up there for 40 years. And the reason they end up there for so long is because they chase all the vices. They chase all the temporary rocks and murmuring, complaining, sin, instead of really going through that season to grow, to go into where God's got for them, right? What, specifically for you, the 5 hard months, what was the benefit of embracing feeling lonely, crying out to God, having the tears, identifying all the habits that you picked up? What's the benefit now?
Well, I'm still kind of fresh from that, but I was telling you earlier, I'm having an amazing day today. I woke up happy, like actually genuinely happy, which is awesome. I have peace. But what I've discovered that I had to do is when you're alone, and first of all, I'm pretty awesome. Not, I'm great at so many things, right? I have all the, I'm a good communicator. Well, at least I think. Don't ask my ex-girlfriend; she wouldn't believe that, or my ex-wife. But
well, communicating relationships a lot harder.
Work-wise, I'm a good communicator. I could preach. I love reading books. I write. I'm poetry. I'm romantic. I have all this stuff going for me that I think, okay, it wouldn't be that difficult if I really wanted to find a partner. The temptation is there, but I had to pull back. And then when I pull back and I stayed alone, even for a minute, immediately the attack is, you are unlovable. You're gonna end up alone. You are not good enough.
So you couldn't submit to lies.
And those are childhood lies. Those are stuff that happens when you're young, and then you can perform to get past them. And what I had to do is when the pain comes, instead of masking it or saying I'm not going to feel pain, you say, Jesus, I'm going to invite you into this pain. What is it you are trying to heal deep inside of me so you can give me a new heart? Because you've given me a new heart, but our job is to reflect God into the world. That's a first calling of men, is to be image bearers. We're created in His image. Yeah. So the world needs us to actually reflect God. If you're a mirror and the mirror has cracks in it or has dirt on it, it doesn't do a very good job reflecting. And to me, that dirt is our own substitution of stuff we're going to try to do to heal ourselves. And the cracks is our brokenness. We got to invite God in and say, hey, I'm feeling this right now. I'm feeling this pain. I'm feeling unlovable. Please help me heal that. Like, I don't want to mask it. I don't want to hide it. I don't want to try to prove to myself that I have a relationship that somebody would love me, so I receive that from them. I need you to come in and heal that part that says I'm unlovable. Because then I'm going to have a better relationship, because I'm not going to be trying to grab that from my partner because I'm needing and I need that.
They need to fill some kind of void at that point.
Yeah, because even though my my girlfriend was far from perfect because nobody is perfect. I never made her feel loved or secure because my own heart was broken, and I always thought, well, there's got to be somebody better to try to fill my. Because once you have a hole in it, the person next to you cannot feel it, and you're just looking for something else. Yeah. And until that's healed, nothing else takes place. Sorry, Bryan.
No, you're good. I think what men need to understand too about timing is there is no understanding it. You hit that period where you were numb, I can relate to that. And I think back a couple of years ago, some good news for men that are going through these situations like you were going through. And like you said, there's a ton, way more than you would ever recognize, because men are much better than women, I think, at this one thing. And that's masking, what they're feeling,
Finding something else to do.
We find something else to do, play with, compete with, fill our time with, maybe even, and I don't know enough, but maybe even the girlfriend situation, no disrespect to her at all, but maybe that was even a Band-Aid of sorts to your emotions and trying to get through the process. It was something that you would receive from and that feels good, and men really like that. But a couple of years ago, had some weird things going on around me, and I kept meeting people that were going through situations to where there had been some cheating, separations, divorces, and whatnot. And it was interesting because we had seen some cool stories come out of it, but there was a guy that I knew pretty well. Him and his wife had been divorced for, I think it was going on a year when this phone call took place. And he called me one day, and him and I never really had real deep combos. We usually talked about surface level things going on in our life. He helped me with something, kind of a hobby of mine, that I would engage in, and I'm trying to be very anonymous about it. Yeah. If I say what it was, I don't want to draw attention to these guys, but we started to have this conversation, and I'm telling him a little bit about what had been going on in my life at the time, because him and I were catching up. And he probably stopped me about 10 minutes into this call, and he goes, "You want to hear something weird?" And I was like, usually, what is it?
Bryan's always down to hear the weird. Always down.
Yeah. Do something weird or hear it.
Both.
But he says, like a minute or two in this phone call, I had this overwhelming emotion and kind of a need to think about or, this process of a reconciliation with my ex-wife. And I thought, oh, that's kind of weird. But it wasn't that weird. I had that same thing happen 2 to 3 times already in that period of time, and it would have been 2023, I believe. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, this is so crazy. Kind of another one of those God has to be real moments, because it's just too planned, too intentional, too specific, too connected. And you know what's crazy, guys? That he attempted that. He actually, we talked through it on that phone call. He attempted that, went nowhere. And I thought, oh man, this sucks. I thought this was going to be kind of another one, like another win. And time goes on. People move on, move on. And I think I sent you this text the other day, Kellen, and included Sean on. I just thought it was so cool, because there's been no knowledge of me, to me, that anything was going on. And I'd left this out of the text because I really didn't connect the dots until a couple days ago. Probably a month ago or two, I was at Red Rock. A few of us were there. It was an evening. We were just eating. It wasn't anything crazy. And he walks in with her and another couple. And I thought, oh, he must be in town. They got old friends. They're figuring things out. I really didn't think much about it because they had been married for a long time. And he had moved out of town. So I thought, okay, he's just coming back and doing some stuff. I'm stupid. I didn't think anything. And just the other day, when I sent you guys that text, these two had reconciled after all that time. But what's crazy about it is initially, during that first phone call and prayer that we had on the phone that day, there was no amount of interest on his part except for wanting to do what God might have him do about the marriage, but he really didn't want to do it, which could have had some impact on the effort, that took place immediately after. But he did want to follow. He did want to have obedience present, so I thought that was cool. But to God's timing, I just thought it was crazy because in the moment, I chalk that up as a cool, this one's going to be a win. This is too weird. And then a month later, I'm like, not going to work. And it's almost like, okay, well, this sucks. Why are we not batting 1,000 on these things, on healing or reconciliation or people getting saved and all this? And then to see now 2 or 2.5 years go by and this freaking thing work out is wild to me. And it was kind of invigorating for me to see, but also annoying, because I think about, man, there's just a sucky things that have happened in my situation, or in life. We all have it. But I think, like, why did those things happen? Yeah. And then sometimes we're just getting kicked in the nuts over and over.
We are, but I appreciate. So one of the things I want to talk about, like, and then Kally, you said this really well. There's a couple things that we have to hit before we wrap this up. But the first being, I had this conversation at lunch right before I came over here, left my phone and turned back around, was, man, when God does a miracle, it's not small. And so we hear restoration, and that 100% lines up with the heart of God. God's not divisive. He doesn't tear things apart that were he intended to create. However, he doesn't take control over free will either, which makes it messy.
I hate that part, though.
Well, yeah, and we're allowed to. But for everybody,
we want God to just be the wizard.
Well, but for everybody else, we also want it to be freaking easy.
Right.
The wizard.
None of us. Well,
think it's
the Israelites. So in the Bible, the Israelites delay the desert because they didn't want it to be the way it was.
Yep.
But the 40 days done right produced such strength and such endurance and such clarity on what God was doing, and clarity meaning even if it's not restored. Like, Bryan, even if the thing that you want restored, that God's willing to restore, doesn't get restored, the gift is you don't close your heart off.
You have to get to the point that you say, God, this is what I want, but your will be done, not mine.
Well, but the detriment, too, though, is if this isn't going to be restored, they don't deserve it. They did this to me. When you walk through this, it's far more detrimental to your relationship with God and your walk and all your stuff to sear your heart.
Right. Forgiveness is not just for the other person. Forgiveness is for you.
Yeah.
Because once you don't forgive, you close up your heart.
But I wanted you to say this. I wanted you to say this, though.
Yeah.
You didn't know that.
No.
And you closed your heart off, and you suffered for years because of it.
And I just wanted to protect myself, because eventually you feel enough pain.
Yeah.
You just say, I'm going to stop feeling pain.
I don't want to feel pain anymore. Yeah.
I don't want to feel pain. The problem with saying I don't want to feel pain is that you also stop feeling the good things that can happen and the peace and the stuff that God wants you to have that are good. And you just say, I'm just going to protect myself. I'm going to build walls. And anytime the walls would fall down for a bit, something else would trigger them. And then they'll get bigger, and they'll get bigger. And then eventually you're just walled up, and then you're suffocating. You're feeling nothing. And the only way past that is to say, God, I'm going to trust you with my heart. So instead of hiding from the pain, like the last 5 months have been painful. And I have to just say, God, I'm going to invite you into the pain. Heal it. Show me, and I'm just going to trust you. Like I was walking to La Fortune because I'm trying to, go for a walk almost every day. And I was just really down and feeling, depends on the day. It could be a good day, it could be a bad day. And the direction is right, but you could take 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but you're moving in the right direction. I was just really heartbroken that day. And I was like, Lord, why is this not working out? And I know you touched my heart, and I thought you showed me this. And I just felt this, trust me. I know the desires of your heart. Trust me. And, okay, I'm just going to hold on to that. And it still sucks. It still is difficult, but I'm just going to take 1 step after the other and trust you. And this time I'm not closing my heart. I'm just going to sit here and take it. I know you don't want me to hurt God. Please heal me. Please show me. Because he's called all of us for something, for a reason. And half of the time we think we're waiting on God and we're praying and we're kind of angry about why is this not coming to pass, the stuff you've showed me to do. And the whole time we're waiting on God, he's actually waiting on us to get to the point that we can be usable.
Well, what I love, too, when you talk about being usable and God waiting on us, and Thad and I have talked about this. We've said it a couple times. We're going to do weeks back-to-back on safe people, but also the people you need in your life, right, is you needed, and God provided that, and hopefully at least one man did, a place where you were dating somebody you shouldn't be because you weren't ready, or you were doing this thing to numb, or you were still in unforgiveness, and you had a man or somebody in your life that didn't go, well, that's obviously you suck because you're doing these. Like, the world will look at an action and never give you enough of your identity back or time to realize that there's actually things that God's rooting up. You talked about, like, the reason I'm dating is that I didn't want to suffer in loneliness, right? And this actually tracked back further.
And again, this person was really cool. They were great. My ex-girlfriend was great, but that's not a Christian lifestyle, obviously. And Christians are the easiest to judge you and condemn you and say, well, you did this and this is wrong and so what you feel is you actually want to be away from Christians when you're going through that, because there's no...
We're Kellen, at least. He's always been a C block. Always. You see him all, just goes right into the judgmental. Easy for the married guy sleeping in bed every night with his wife to be like, oh, but you don't get to do anything. That's the full you get to do nothing.
That's the full encompassing of love there, buddy.
The point is that Christians are...
Hey, you can be
they're more
liberal
judgy,
and make up another word for it.
And you feel more accepted by non-Christians. That's a problem, because
well, they won't challenge our behavior, right?
Right, but
they won't challenge it.
But Christians could challenge you, but if they not truth without love, right?
Right.
So you gotta love somebody so much that they feel that whatever they say to you
I think what really hurts is, and you call it judgmental, it's labeling. Is if something's going wrong, I label you as being in an adulterous thing or in a relationship out of marriage. And I attack you with the action, and I don't check on you. Why are these things happening? Sit with you and actually care. And the deeper part about it is exactly what you just exposed to everybody, like years of what it was doing to my relationship with God, what my gifts and talents were sitting on the sidelines, and what it did to my heart that I didn't know. And if we're judged really quickly, we isolate away from that because they're not caring for us. We can still, if you have the right person, we can still care for people and also care for them in a way that we genuinely care. They don't take those actions against themselves, other people in their heart long term, right? Because it's the short term thing that's going to hurt later.
To your point, about Christians and judging, what I think one of the larger problems with Christian people is I think a lot of Christians want people to agree with them more than they want people to actually have change, from God himself. So what happens is, I used to tell my mom this stuff too, and I say this to people all the time. Number one, if people don't believe how you believe, they do not give a crap about what you're saying.
Nope.
Zero. So if you think that just trying to convince people to believe how you believe is going to work, that's not going to work at all. Also, Jesus didn't do that. Secondly, if people are living a different lifestyle than you, no amount of judgment, advice, consulting is ever going to make an impact outside of God working a miracle, If they don't have some type of trust and or respect for the person delivering the news, right? Think of it in any other way of your life. If you're a business owner, Kellen, and so some dude pulls up in front of your office and he wants to consult you on your business. And you ask him, okay, well, where's your office at? Well, it's my car, COVID, we're all mobile. Okay, I can buy that maybe. Well, the next thing I want to know, if you're going to coach me in my business, I'm going to need to see a tax return. I'm going to need to see that there is something measurable that you do.
Some good coming out of your stuff, yeah.
That's not the end-all, be-all, but I don't want to talk to you for 7 hours. I just need to see some quick analytics, something that's going to give me something on it. And if he has nothing, we're done. No different than when someone is lost or spiraling or doing something they shouldn't. The whole strategy that the old generation had, I call it my mom's generation because they were really bad at this. I mean, they just were really bad at it, most of them. And it was because the people before them were bad at it. I don't think it was intentional. I think that we just got in love with control over people, and we created systems and processes to put people in a church just working through levels of what the next thing is until they die. And no one was really having the experience they needed to have to last a long time. And I'm speaking generally, but so many churches were doing this. I mean, I think of one right now in the 80s and 90s that if you weren't wearing a dang suit, and this was probably a lot of churches, but this one was big at the time, then you couldn't come. And it's like, this church isn't even for you dorks. You know, it's for the other people. If you are going to wear a suit here, it's probably just not for you. You need to come here and serve. You know, you need to come here and open doors. I love it when pastors talk about, and when I say this not sarcastically, pastors that engage people in the church, you know, of course everyone needs to get fed some, and everyone needs to have their time at church, but the Christians should be having their time on the other days. Church should actually be about the other people coming. And something I will say about Pastor Paul, who we've had before, you know, people can like and hate pastors, but I love Paul's philosophy on this, is he likes to let people know, hey, if you're a member here and you've been coming to church and you've given your heart to the Lord and you're living this life, of course you need to be here. Of course, you know, you need to be surrendered in worship. Of course, all that stuff. But what you really need to be doing when you get here is remembering that Sunday is not for the Christians. Sunday is for the people that don't know God. You know, the other days are days that you are maybe getting into the Word and praying. You need to be prepared here just as much as I am on Sunday delivering this message to help me bring these people in to hear this message so that they want to stay, that they want to come back, and that their kids are liking kids' church. We're volunteering here. It's all about getting people here on Sunday. And so Christians are just so bad about having this legalistic kind of traditional view of the whole thing, to where it's almost like I feel like sometimes when I listen from afar, or I'll even be in other conversations, Kellen, we've been in, and I'll hear someone start talking, and it's someone that I think is super Christian. In fact, there's someone in one of our journey groups like this, and he doesn't mean bad, but I'm trying to think, is anyone ever going to respond to this dude's way? It's all about how as soon as the Lord touched me, I never made any more mistakes, and I read the Bible every single day, and I send out the Bible verses every day, and I'm like, dude,
Right.
when do you ever when do you ever do anything weird?
Be so for real right now. Are you for real doing that?
But I think that's the hard thing, is weird church people are hard. Jesus wasn't weird. Like, he literally went into all the places that everybody that was religious didn't think he should be. Mm-hmm. And the result, and back to, I think the summation of what you're saying is, if we unintentionally attack the action, whether it's for control or any other reason, that's not what God's working on. And that's not what he's working on with you either, with something deeper.
He wants your heart, first of all. So instead of trying to get to people's hearts, we made it about a whole bunch of rules and regulations and saying, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. None of that matters, because if God touches your heart, it truly gets into your heart, trust him. He's going to change you from the inside out. Meditate on him. He's going to start he's going to start showing me, I don't want God, but I want to keep doing this. Nope.
Well, we say this all the time, guys.
Just get his heart.
If he's as real as everyone says he is, with all the creating things and all the people creation and all the supernatural things, then he can most certainly change a heart with your presence in a conversation. It doesn't have to be weird, judgmental. It doesn't have to be anything. If you truly believe that he works miracles, opens blind eyes, and all the stuff that we say we believe, then there's no amount of his need for us to do anything but obey. Obeying is pretty obvious in the Bible, and these are the things that I do like to talk about because I mess up so much, but these are the easy ones. Nowhere in the Bible does it ever say anything about the sales process of getting someone to come to know the Lord. Zero. Right. It says love your neighbor.
It says love the Lord and then love your neighbor. Well, and then
show them love.
To the rules and to the heart, that's where Jesus made everything simple too. If we make things over complex, it's because of our need to be seen most of the time or to control something. Jesus he said he fulfilled the law, and he did. He walked obedience out perfectly the way God designed it, but Jesus summed it up in a very clear way, is if you love me and allow me to love you, I am love, and that flows into other people, everything is going to come in line.
Not pass judgment, not tell them how to do it, not critique them.
But
and
for
it comes down to a surrender position. It comes down to, and I sent it to you guys on Wednesday because I literally just I was sitting there going, oh my gosh. It says, I was reading my devotional. I was kind of up here working, whatever, reading this, and I said, if Jesus is merely a moral teacher, we retain all the control. Mm-hmm. If Jesus is a spiritual guide, we negotiate with him. Mm-hmm. If he is Lord, we yield.
Yeah. Well,
We yield to him.
and
Right.
to
My
that,
golly.
to that, it's his responsibility. Like
Yeah.
when we go out into the world, it's the responsibility of God, and then through Jesus, the power there to minister to that person, and they have a decision. There's a viral video going around about Theo Vaughn. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I have.
It's incredibly powerful about going to the pool of Bethesda. How do you say it?
Yeah.
Bethesda.
Yeah.
Bethesda.
Do you really want to?
Well, but that's the point. Is
Right.
It's like Jesus said, "Do you want to be healed?" And Theo Vaughn, in the perfect way.
Mm-hmm.
So he's being touched by the Lord. Goes, "I don't know,"
Right.
because all this and
It's
you
scary.
said it's going to change.
It's scary.
Everything has
Painful.
to change. And for a lot of people that have lived a really hard life, the hard parts are familiar now. I know so many people that are living with the Lord but living better, and the hardest part of the first couple of years was receiving good things because they were never in place when they lived a really hard life.
Yeah, because the chaos just controlled their life. Yeah.
But we were talking about men in the middle of the chaos or the middle of the loss or trying to protect themselves. And Bryan, you said something really powerful. But the one thing that I wanted to make sure that if any man's going through that or they've hardened themselves, and Kally, you said it really well, is intentionally or unintentionally, the world will attack your actions. But that's not what God's getting to. Like sitting with him and the freedom that comes from him in these seasons that feels so hard goes so much deeper. And the actions, the substitutes and the habits that are in the way, they're in the way of a deeper wound. And God will bring you out of that season in such a cool way that you never had even before you went through the valley, because he's ministering to the wounds you've had your whole life. And so you're not going to want this relationship to fill a place of God because you feel lonely or you need to be desired or any of that stuff.
And only then can you have an actual real relationship. Yeah. Whoever you're going to have it with, if you would sit in the pain long enough to where you're healed, then when you have a relationship, you're both building something together. Yeah. You're both honoring each other. You both instead of you being an emotional vampire.
Well, and not only that, but what I want for relationships too that I see all the time is when the man, the woman, and this has got to be harder. I mean, 50 dating, right? It's got to be harder the older you
the
get.
last time I was dating, Bill Clinton was president.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
It's been a while.
Well, but as we get older, what I keep seeing,
it's crazy. No, I just watched a documentary on.
You were learning how to color in the lines.
I just watched this documentary on the Oklahoma City bombing, and it was like had President Clinton in it, and I was like, "Damn, that was like 30 years ago."
Thank you for making me feel young, guys.
Sorry.
Well, you were Thad's age then.
That's the big
Yeah.
definition.
So, but what I'll say, and this is what God doesn't want. He doesn't want things out of order, because when they're not aligned properly, it produces chaos, and that's so easy to produce in a relationship. Most of the time, and I've seen it almost 100% of the time, when two people have things in common and they're not healed, they bond and stay together over the brokenness and not the things that God wants for them. So they're in a trauma bond. And then they wonder why things don't work out. Well, they both got hurt by similar types of situations.
And that person's wound triggers something in you, and that wound that you have triggers something in them, and it becomes a self-feeding loop.
Yeah.
And then over time, it just becomes toxic because, then the fights have built up. I mean, but that's typical for married. Any long-term relationship, some of the fights built up, and that's a whole other conversation, how you deal with that.
It is.
But if you, again, allow... between stimulus and response, because that goes to the identity, right? I do something and they trigger you, and you just and if you respond long enough, we know those pathways in the brain strengthen, and it just becomes instant, and you start thinking, well, this is who I am. I just lose my temper, or I drink, or I cuss, or whatever. And I've been really tempted to cuss because I think that.
But accepting.
So you just think this is who I am. This is my identity, and so between stimulus and response, you need to invite the Holy Spirit in. I mean, that's His grace, and say, Lord, please heal me. Like this is a wound, and I'm reacting. This is my trauma, and I'm reacting, and I'm doing this to the other person that I love, but they hurt me. My reaction is to hurt them. Please come and heal this.
Well, what I wanted to get to, Kally, with you, that's beautiful because it is the truth, is the relationship there's not restoration. The relationship didn't change. The stuff you were chasing, none of it worked out. But genuinely, through what God did with this, He's brought you back to who you are, and now you're flourishing.
And it's settling into who you are for a purpose. Like I really feel like this is part of my purpose now. It's like I'm running into guys all the time who are. It's an epidemic of men who are living lives outwardly looking like they're alive, but they're dead on the inside. And the world desperately needs guys to be restored and to be connected with their purpose and with God, to be able to love their significant other, to love their kids, to have joy, to have fun, to have peace. I mean, like, forget trying to preach. How many people do you think in Tulsa, Oklahoma haven't heard the gospel?
Not many in Tulsa.
Yeah. So why are they not coming to church? Because we're full of crap. Because we don't have actual peace. We don't have actual joy. We're not actually reflecting God. We're reflecting judgment, reflecting this, and we're trying to fix them instead of just being able to love them. Because if I'm confident I know who God is, I don't need to fix you. I could just love you. I actually called my ex-girlfriend and I said, listen, I realized something when we were together and I was stuck in my mess. Because my own heart was broken, I didn't want to work on me. I nitpicked on you to death because I was trying to fix you. Because I was afraid to actually work on me and acknowledge my own problems. I want to apologize. I've apologized about 50 different things because I'm going through the day and I'm like, holy crap.
Well, they've probably heard it. Yeah, sure. They've heard the gospel. They just haven't felt it.
Right.
You know, that they haven't been able to just be what and who they are. You know, I want to be careful not to make people think that we're just down for whatever and you can do whatever. But as Christians, too, we've got to understand, no different than any other leadership position, because I would consider it not the typical earthly leadership position, you know, like if you're in a business or in a group and people are working as a leader to try to get people engaged. But if you are a Christian and you have a desire for other people to know what has happened in you, it's not that different. I mean, people are not going to engage with someone they're not interested in, no matter what you are saying. They're just not going to want to be involved. They're going to distance themselves from you. They're going to shut off. They're going to shut down, which is why I think when I look at what the main instruction was in the Bible about spreading God's word was as simple as just loving your neighbor. Mm-hmm. I think God was trying to tell us that as humans, the way that our egos are going to work, the way that pride's going to work, the way that weird social things are going to work, and the way that we operate as humans is nothing is going to work with people outside of that simple thing. Not instructions, not how to do it, not the critiquing and the grading. I think God knew that the only thing that really gets through to people, even the most aggressive or walled up people, is love. Because, you know, there's a million examples of it takes a little more time sometimes. But the way that I've seen it happen with the grittiest, toughest, roughest, dip in the lip guys is just that constant show of like love, acceptance. But don't get acceptance weird. We're not accepting the mistakes. We've been there too. We're accepting the fact that you make them.
And where you're at.
Where you're at.
Accepting you, not necessarily the mistakes, because I felt, sorry, I'm interrupting, but I felt at one point God literally tell me, because I really wanted to say this thing to fix this person, I really felt like God said, it is your job to love them and it's my job to fix them.
Sheesh, that needs to be said to everybody.
Like, okay. And that was really difficult because I'm like, I could fix them. I could see what's wrong. I could just point it. Instead of dealing with the giant log in my own eye, I was like really wanting to get that speck because I could see that speck clearly, because the other thing is so huge, it's here, you don't even see it, you're used to it. And it was just like, okay, I'm just going to love him. And it sounds really simple, Brian, but it's actually more difficult to just show love and acceptance.
As guys, we are fixers.
Well, think about this project, guys. Think about this project God has going on here. I like to simplify it to huge, crazy, powerful guy in the sky. Fine. Projects happening with humans that he's created. Which one is he more interested in? Is he more interested in people getting saved, or is he more interested in the people that are supposed to be helping other people find him? I think he's equally interested in both, because ultimately he wants everyone to hear about him, but for everyone to hear about him, there has to be people willing to be surrendered enough to do it the way he asks us to do it. I think he's equally interested in both processes happening the way it needs to. So when we're out there trying to talk to people, we have to remember he's as interested in us obeying him in sharing the news with other people as he is them hearing it. And if we're doing that stupid, well, then it's not going to work. I think for me, the way that I've tried to, could be wrong, by the way, because you can poke holes in almost anything, but I think for me, the way that I've tried with people over the last couple of years is to let them know, you can tell me anything. Nothing's really that off limits. I probably did it maybe, too. Not all of it, but I need you to know that you can talk to me about it. I'm not going to sword you over the deal. But what's end up going to happening in these conversations is kind of proof to our points we've been making for the last 30 minutes is almost every time that you just let people be who they are, they're almost always going to let you steer into a conversation they never planned on having. But they're only letting you do that because you spent enough time building rapport, showing them that you actually care, that you're not... You know how some Christians do this thing, Thad? I can literally picture them, like anytime they're able to get one in there, they like want to go mark it on the board or something like they scored. And it's like, that's not what we're doing. I can almost tell it's that scheduled and that weird that they're literally just as fast as they can get it. Okay, I witnessed to someone. That was kind of old school, handing out the tracts. Those sucked so bad. I mean, obviously God's... He's powerful. He can use it, right? But it sucked.
Failing at 99 cold calls and getting one and celebrating the one. And completely neglecting any poor job done on
it was never... That was never the goal. It didn't say, hey, everyone run out and go door to door. And it's like an MLM thing. Like we get out there and we're going to invite them over to our house and show them this great new business plan or whatever. No. It was about a conversation at a time, living life with people because we're no better than they are. We're no worse than they are. And if you believe that he's who he is, inadvertently, almost every single time, you're going to see the pocket. And if you're paying attention and if you're listening, you're going to notice the pocket at which you're now supposed to start to turn the wheel just a little bit softly into the news that you're trying to share with them that's likely going to come through relating to what they're going through, telling them about a story where you heard of something they were going through, or just being able to show them the kind of acceptance that no one else has around a subject that they've been judged so harshly for, which ultimately I think is the best way, ultimately because the Bible tells us to do it this way, even in the cigar room or wherever we're at, Kellen, I think almost every single time, the most success comes from, and we're all susceptible to this, by the way, because we can all get a little competitive, right? We can get a little bit like, oh, I know if I just say the right thing, it'll happen. And we got to pull back a little bit.
Your flesh wants to do stuff, for sure.
Pull back a little bit and say, no. My goal isn't to fix them.
Right.
My goal is, that's not the goal. The goal is for them to know that they can come back to me tomorrow and have the same conversation and the next one, because they may not go to anyone else and they may keep hiding it like you were just completely checked out and numb. You know what, it would have been really great if there would have been someone come along at some point in time that could have just not tried to fix you or tell you it was going to be okay or any of that, just been there with you.
Telling you it's going to be okay makes you angry.
Right.
When you're in those moments, somebody starts giving, it's going to be okay, it just pisses you off.
Yeah, I can't breathe right now, but thanks.
Just walk it with you.
Man, I don't need to hear how but God did that. I'm like, just done. I don't want to hear that because it makes me angry. I have an illustration. A year and a half ago, 2 years ago, me and my ex-girlfriend went to Oktoberfest. And she grew up in church and walked away because the church treated her really, really harshly and poorly. Really good heart, but she's like, I don't want anything to do with church. We're walking up to Oktoberfest. We're waiting in line. There's some a-hole with a sign who is there to try to witness to people by basically insulting everybody waiting in line because they're sinners that are going to hell with the megaphone being protected. And I'm like, does that actually lead anybody to the Lord? Does that actually want somebody to turn to God because you're there accusing him? And
can I be real raw with you right now? I went to San Francisco, and we witnessed, like we went, it's our vacation, and went and met people where they're at and prayed over people. Like, that's all you got to do is listen and say, hey, can I pray for that? By the way, that's a lot of it is where Bryan was at, and then when they start dealing with heavy stuff and you've been there and you're relating, say, can I pray about it? And they say yes, even if they don't believe God, by the way. I was like, God, can I punch this guy? Like, no, the people with the signs and the megaphones.
Oh, the
I was
Christians.
like, I've never.
I know, that's insulting to me now.
That's just me being raw. Like, I walked into a Walgreens, and there's a guy with a megaphone saying that stuff, and I was like, hey, can you guys hear They're like, oh, yeah. I was like, how does that make you feel?
Oh, my God.
And the woman behind the cash register in Walgreens, and we were, while we were in San Francisco,
so embarrassing.
said, we've talked about tying him up and throwing him into the bay, but they won't let us. And it's just, it's confusing.
And they pick up plays that people are just having fun. And if you read the story of the prodigal son, I'm going to do a sermon. I'm going to get invited to this place. And the title of my sermon is going to be The Proverb of the Brother Who Wouldn't Party. Because if you read those 3 proverbs in a row, the first one is like, I'm going to get the order wrong, but there's a lost coin, and they find it, there's a celebration, there's a party. There's a lost sheep, there's a celebration, there's a party, even the angels rejoice. The third proverb, there is a lost human who goes away.
And it's about the
gets
brother the
found,
whole time. Yeah.
And the brother is asked, hey, now we're going to have a party. And he refuses to go to the party and celebrate because he's like, he doesn't deserve this. That's what Christians do. People are having fun, enjoying themselves, having a drink, going out, and we are going to go out there and tell them, you are sinners, you shouldn't be doing it, and we're going to scream. We're the brother who wouldn't party and celebrate and be able to enjoy yourselves.
Jesus also shows valuable in another parable. There's a bunch of workers. And some go out early in the day,
right,
and some go out in the last hour, and they come back, and the person that put them to work gave the same amount, and the ones that work longer got mad.
Right.
And he said, who are you to decide what I'm giving for this, right? And equal value was given to every human, but equal sacrifice through Jesus was given for all. And so, and that's what we're supposed to keep in line. And I think one of the things, Bryan, you were saying when we're out and about in every place that there is opportunity, and there's opportunity everywhere where we're planting our feet. One, don't be weird. Like I talked about that, we just don't need to be weird. Like just be human.
Hold up the sign.
Don't have surface level conversation.
Well, in the name of having a love podcast we're doing right now and being weird, is I have received a what would you call it? Like a proposal of marriage in the messages. So I'm just letting you guys know.
Now.
Letting you guys know. So it gets kind of weird on this thing, dude.
If you learn anything from Kally, you're not ready.
Lord,
just tell it. Are you dating, single, married? And it's just no.
Gross, dude.
None of the above.
None of that.
None of the above.
None of that. I just don't understand it. Hopefully our friends
okay.
hear this nonsense. Like, proposals of marriage is interesting, but it's fine. I'm not going to do it.
Well, but
I'm not going to do it.
You mentioned a couple things, not about getting married. You mentioned.
Wait, was it for me? Maybe or it's for you? The proposal?
I don't know. This girl says that she used to date you a couple of years ago. I'm just kidding. No, it's I don't know who it is. Some
That's
rando. But to answer your question, no, I'm not dating. I can't date.
So we
It's not allowed.
we talked back through, kind of getting some healing, but really going to counseling, just doing some of the things. Mm-hmm. And a big part of that, so many environments, I think as men, we want to step into those environments. Nobody wants to be weird. But when you step into those environments, the more healing you get, the less you take anything somebody else is doing personally. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of times the sin somebody else is in can offend you or bring something up in you.
That's a trigger.
Because it's a trigger.
But also I think half of the time they're jealous that those people are having more fun than them because they actually wish they were sinning. They actually wish they were having fun. I feel like Christians they don't have their connection with God.
They need a deeper connection. No,
say off Christians at the moment, but I feel like they're sitting there.
Just dunk on us. Just dunk on us.
The reason that I just dated somebody who was agnostic /deist and somebody who's an atheist, and I think both of them. I kept making. I felt like I had to keep apologizing for Christians because I'm like, what you've seen isn't real Christianity. You've seen some BS that's kind of mixed in with stuff that's self-righteousness, that's judging, and half of the time the Christians are sitting there and they're, even when you get divorced and you get attacked by Christians, because some of them wish they can get divorced, but they don't want to deal with the social consequences, and they're the first ones who dump you as friends because their marriage is miserable, but they're not fixing it. And they wish they can, and it becomes this whole thing. They're like, okay, no, but you got divorced, and we're judging you. And it's not, divorce is horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's like slow death. It's it takes forever, and it's painful, and it sucks, and I'm not saying get divorced, but sometimes you need to. Sometimes that is the only option for two unhealthy people who aren't working out, who've tried therapy, whatever. Is that God's plan? No. But it is free will. It takes two humans submitting to Him, and so on. But the people who dump you are the ones who are in the most miserable marriage. And the people who are Christians, who they are miserable, they have no connection with God because they gave up the whatever. For them, it's like about not drinking. It's about following a bunch of rules. And they don't see you following the rules. And you're enjoying yourself. And they're miserable. And they want to just attack you. And then the other people see that and think, if that's Christianity, no thank you.
But it's not like if people, I think we have a crisis of reading the Word too, and where all the churches are, like the people that actually read the Bible, because that's the exact same thing that was going on when Jesus walked, right? Was the religious elite were attacking for all the things, and Jesus is like, well, I'm going to pick a tax collector who's the most hated person to be a disciple. I'm going to go eat dinner with a tax collector. I'm going to go talk to a prostitute.
The prostitutes
and the I'm going to go meet people right where they're at, and not condemn them in the first 3 words with what's going on, and understand that it's got them in bondage later. But he restores things. That's what Jesus does. Mm-hmm. You step into who he is, and he restores things.
Well, we've, what a great conversation. What's cool about usually our topics is that we'll kind of like dot to dot topics. We'll go from something but it inevitably always leads into the next thing. These things are so connected, when we start talking about the stuff that people are going through and ultimately the goal of showing them where it would be really cool for them to get, they may just not know it. Those are so connected because God planned, knowing how his people were going to hurt, the pain they were going to go through, the mistakes they were going to make, but he already knew, kind of what would solve that issue, what would help a man or a woman understand that there is a hope that comes in, his word and what he has. And what we've discussed today is ultimately there aren't a whole lot of wrong ways to help people find him as long as it starts with love, and a way to relate to people. We don't want to go too long, obviously, but, I appreciate you sharing with us today. It's always so tough to start talking about real life things that you go through. So many men that we meet, in fact, Lord, every day. Every day. I was about to say, sometimes it's every day.
Every other person. Probably.
Well, with Kellen and his groups and the organization that he's created and runs with Band of Brothers, it's got to be a constant thing. But even out here in just the world, that it's rare that we don't run across someone that's hurting, or you can tell it, the vibe's there, or they're just willing to share because they're there, and they're ready to just get it out,
I hear from hurting people answering the phone every day at my job, and I'm not a counselor, and I am not somebody who whatever. I am the insurance guy. That picked up today. Talked to a guy. Hey, I need to swap some cars out. I lost my job last week, so we had to, trade in the cars for something a little cheaper. It's like, damn, bro. I'm so sorry about that. Like, he didn't have to tell me that. He could just said, hey, we just swapped out our cars and got different cars.
Well, we've got to get to these men before they break, because in no way do we accept or condone any kind of abuse. We've all been a part of forms of it, either giving it or receiving it, because men hate to hear this, but shutting down's a form of abuse.
Absolutely.
Shutting them out's a form of abuse.
Absolutely.
Ignoring them. So when we talk about abuse, we don't have to get weird and talk about hitting people. A lot of times we're putting abuse on our partners or other people in forms that may not be seen by the world as much, but it's still there. It's causing hurt, and you're receiving it from them too. A lot of times people don't want to talk about the abuse, whereas you're married to someone who doesn't want to discuss something. They don't like something you did, so they sleep in a different room for 2 nights. That's abuse, by the way, ladies. That's abuse. We've got to get to a point to where we can meet in the middle and start having these conversations. The biggest problem is so many people weren't taught how to do it. I saw a story about a dude a day or 2 ago that he went nuts and started, putting his hands on people. And when confronted by law enforcement to ask the simple question of what was going on, the one thing I did see in this is that the guy didn't react and get all crazy and weird. He just said what really was deal. He lost his job. He was so stressed out and overwhelmed he was done. And ultimately, unacceptable, but started putting his hands on people. And what men have to do, Christian men, have to be willing to sit down with these people and probe enough, love enough, feel enough, get engaged enough, be relatable enough to start to notice when people are there. Men are so good at masking this, and if we can't get to the point to where we can identify someone that's hurting that bad so we can connect them with resources, we can pray with them, we can talk with them, be there with them, because in these situations, how many circumstances can be different if men started actually doing what men are supposed to do? And this is what Sean and I were talking about when you walked up the other day, Kellen, too. Men are so, the ones that think they're doing it right, are business casual every day at their jobs with their salaries and dropping off their kids at their private school and then getting to church on Sunday at the same time every week so that everyone knows they're there, and then doing lunch and all this perfect scheduled routine, which makes them feel safe and secure. It makes them feel like some old TV show family situations to where like everything's great and perfect, which we find out they're not. They have sex once a month and it's always missionary and, all the stuff to where it's not what they think, but they've got a great look going on. The part is perfect. 2 buttons on the polo. We've got to get so far away from that bull crap because that's not effective. It's not helping anyone. Maybe they live a decent life and things look good and they feel good and they golf every day and whatever. But these men that are spiraling out like I saw the other day, something I saw different about this guy's picture that I don't always see, because a lot of times you see a monster, guys. In these situations, when you look at that picture, if you're using any form of discernment, you see a monster.
And you see a figure like that figures.
But you know what, Kellen, in this one, I didn't see a monster. And again, I want to say, we do not condone or accept any kind of abuse. But what I'm trying to say is I looked through this dude. He looked different than the monsters we usually see in these scenarios, and I see a lot of these. He looked like a dude that gave up. He looked like a dude that was quitting. And he looked like a dude that was so overwhelmed that he did the most unacceptable thing in the world, and that's put his hands on people. What if, though, someone in his life had recognized this earlier and had engaged him in a situation to where he wasn't, like, quitting? Because when you back someone in a corner and they're quitting, people do things that are wrong, that are bad, that are horrible. I just wish we could get to this place with men and we could get out of the performance-based bull crap and stop, Well,
it's ultimately you're putting on it's a mask and they don't know it. You're putting on a suit and you're wearing it all week. And when somebody's in crisis, that doesn't help them. And you don't know how to be anything else. You don't know how to be real because you programmed your life so well to look a certain way.
Well, and it's like that prayer breakfast, that we went to a long time ago, Kellen. I've been to a couple times, but I think you and I shared some sentiments about it. I mean, cool about the effort going into it. Cool that a lot of people go to it. It's hard work to put that stuff on, but and I want to say this, I don't want to say it too harshly because I'm guilty of doing that from time to time, but this thing had no power. No power. I've been to it a couple of times and I respect a ton the people putting it on. I respect the place that it's happening at, and I love the system and process of it. But what I felt it's just a really good system and process. If we wanted to start that, we could do it on systems and processes, no different than some of these churches. You can build a church on really good systems, processes, promotion, discipline.
Well, you can feel it. Like it's when you are young and starting a business, a lot of guys get caught up in this. The feeling is like, oh, I'm at a chamber lunch, right? Or a big chamber event, there's 300 people and everybody's walking in going, oh, I need to be this right now. Right. That was what was happening at that breakfast.
Well, there's just no power.
You're still surrounded, too, by all the people with the way it was positioned with the process to show up and be like, oh, this is how I need to present myself.
Well, those people hammering us about this cigar bar a weekend or two ago when we were there, the comments. And, I read that sometimes and I'm like, man, you start to think, okay, maybe this is going the wrong direction and you're reading this nonsense. But I start to think, dude, there was more power in that room as you entered it than there was at that prayer breakfast. You know, I feel that way. You know, ultimately, you can feel when there's like a presence, when there's an influence, when there's a power that people can't avoid or ignore. So you start to talk to other people that I didn't even talk to that night, and they're sharing comments and they're sharing their opinions of what happened, what they were looking at. They felt. They felt it. So a couple of dorks who make lots of mistakes, especially me, especially Sean, having a moment, me and him and Kellen, that we thought was somewhat private, people are feeling it. And that's cool because, you know, God's going to do that. We've got nothing to do with that, really. He chooses those moments of power. But when I go into places like that breakfast and I'm like, there is no power here, you can feel it or not feel it. You can discern that for one reason or another. And I think that what we've got to get right is when we're in these moments all the time, if nothing else, you know, men that are listening to this, you need to be aware that at any given time, standing next to you is just like that dude I saw in the picture the other day. You could be right by a guy that is one thread away from snapping. The dude you were visiting in a hospital a couple of weeks ago that had given up. They're right there. They're right beside you. They may still have a Southern Hills polo on, but they're right there. They might be ready to give up. We've got to get better at not trying to be cool or legalistic or super traditional about it and just get to the place where we'll be like, dude, I've been through some stuff too. How are you? What is it? I can feel something on you. I'll take the time to talk with you. I'll pray with you. I don't care where we're at. And start to show these men that there is some path to hope if they're willing to, you know, they got to take a couple steps, right? You know, they got to.
Well, and it being worth it. I mean, Kally, you said it so well, and most men can't define what their purpose is. Like, you're now sitting at a table with people in this space, and you're like, I know what that space is, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that you have a God-given purpose, and then you just sit with them where they're at. But, like, we have such a purpose to step into those things if we have enough healing to be our authentic selves.
I think on the other side of this whole hard journey is an adventure. Because, you know, I love reading, and I've started writing again recently, like I said, but one of my favorite series was The Chronicles of Narnia, and in it,
Great one.
When I think it was Lucy Pevensey or Susie Pevensey is asking the beavers, and she's like, is he safe? She's talking about Aslan the lion, and Mr. Beaver turns to her and is like, of course he isn't safe. He's not a tame lion, but he's the king, and he's good, I tell you. But that's what we want as Christians. Yeah. We want safety, and so we want that safety just to be isolated from the world, and whether that's our money or prayer, whatever. That's like incantations and magic tricks. We're just going to control everything. The Bible doesn't promise us that. But it does promise us an adventure. Yeah. I have no idea what relationship is going to work out for me next. I have no idea exactly what I'm going to... I know I'm feel called now to step into my purpose, which is help men with their hearts open and start preaching again and start just living out. It's going to be an adventure, but there's no guarantee. Can I get hurt again? Absolutely. It's a risk, but that's okay. Now I'm connected to something that could help me, and it's fun. And it can actually be now I can actually live life again and enjoy life. And if you do that, I think people are attracted to you. Yeah. Right. People who need what's inside. It's not about me or you or any of us. So I think, Bryan, that's what you're basically talking about, is that instead of making it weird and making it a program and making it this perfect, safe ritual, people could feel if there's that adventure, if that connection. We need
some kind of outcome, right? No, just let it be what it is.
There's no guarantee. We don't know what's going to happen. Like, I'm going to pray with this guy, and he may punch me.
Maybe.
Or he may turn around and be like, "Hey, man, that was awesome." Somebody. You don't know.
You don't know.
That's
but God didn't call it to be perfect. God called you to just do it.
To surrender, right?
Live the adventure.
Well, you guys have been listening to the Get Canceled podcast. We do this weekly, and we stream on all major platforms: iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. As well, we try to put the link on YouTube as well, so you can catch us there if you want to see what we look like. Sometimes people do. Clearly, we're getting marriage proposals, and lots of weird stuff gets said to us in these messages.
I think she wants to marry your jeans. That's what it is.
Who doesn't, dude?
Listen, forward it to me.
She wants to marry what's under these dadgum jeans. But anyways, we love the rating and reviewing that you're giving us.
Real quick.
We need your reviews. We need your feedback. All jokes aside, we love the questions, comments, and topics. It kind of keeps us with stuff to talk about when it gets a little too serious at times. We definitely want to entertain you guys a little bit too. So send us the things you want to talk about. We'll give you our opinions. We'll tell you what we think. Sometimes it'll be stupid, and sometimes it will be right, which is most of the time. If you want to give us a review, what you need to do is go to iTunes. That's my favorite one. There's 3 dots at the top. If you click it, you'll slide down and you'll have the opportunity to give us 5 stars, I hope, or even click additionally the button next to it. You can share it, copy the link to your social media. I don't think we have anything else. What a great conversation today, guys. I think it's real. I think it's practical. I think it's the stuff people need to hear. We've made this Christian thing almost like a club that you have to almost get into, right? It's almost like a members only type of thing that people are putting out there. I hate that.
That's the opposite of the gospel.
Yeah, I hate that. This is not a members only deal. I think it's important too to remind people today, because of this conversation, you absolutely never have to be a member to be in the rooms that we're in. I made a post yesterday about a new company that's launched that we've kind of gone into a little bit of partnership with, that you've seen some posts I've made, that you've seen Sean and I in, or you've seen Kellen in. And what I like to tell people is, if you want to be in the room, just ask. You're always invited. Men that are listening to this, or will listen to this, or see the video of this, you're invited. You don't need a special invite. If we're going to the summit, don't worry about that. Just send us a message. Let us know you want to come. Text one of us. If you have our number, send a DM to one of us. Let us know you want to come. We also hang out at different places. So just let us know. You're always welcome. We look at the comments, put them in there if we don't know you. We're always down to make new friends, engage you in different things we're doing. We had a guy that had actually started a journey group a long time ago just from listening to the podcast. Did what a lot of guys do. He's young. Didn't know how to fit in, didn't know where he fits in, has some hard things going on personally as well, just super young. And this dude shows up last week or whatever when we were having a cigar at the place, and his family had invited him as well. Ends up coming back to Journey the other day, wanting to get back engaged. That's kind of what we're looking to do. We want people to get engaged. I don't necessarily think I have to be saying anything super special to anyone, because that's rarely ever going to happen. I just want you to be in the room to connect with other people, men that can create friendships with you, create relationships with you, a place to belong. Because I think a lot of times what happens is if men don't have a place to belong, they'll go find something else to belong to. And ultimately, we don't want that. We want you to belong in a circle where you're accepted, and we want you to know you're accepted.
That you're not belong. You're fine just coming as you are. That's the point.
Well, we're done here. Who wants to say a prayer?
You can pray out, Kally.
Why don't we pray?
Let's do it.
Hey, Lord, we love you. Thank you for loving us enough that you died for us, which is awesome. You love us. So whoever is watching this out there, we pray that you would touch them. You want their heart. You want their heart open to you. And you say that you sit at the door and knock, and if somebody wants to invite you in, you're going to be there. So if somebody's feeling that, or they're not sure that this God thing is even real, just pray and say, hey, if you're real, please reveal yourself to me. And if you are a Christian who wants to reconnect, I just want you to know he loves you. He loves all of us. So Lord, please touch every single person watching live, who will be watching in the future. Let them know you love them right where they're at, and you're willing to meet them. And your heart and your hand is open to them. Lord, make that real to everybody watching. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And don't forget,
Get canceled.
Get canceled.